Pleasant good morning to one and all. Pleasant good morning. Welcome to today's episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Welcome to this midweek. Today is Wednesday, the 17th day of September in the year of our Lord 2025. As you come on, as we say, you gotta share, let them know that we're on. Share the live, we're on to give you credible, valuable information. Share the live and let them know, let your colleagues know that we are on. Today is another great day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's give praise and thanks to be in the land of the living. It is a privilege to be in the land of the living, and we should never, ever take that for granted. Never, ever should we take that for granted, that the good Lord has allowed us to be here to see another day. He allowed the good, He allowed the bad, He allowed the ugly, He allowed the indifferent. We're all here because of the mercies of the Lord, and we should always give praise and thanks for that. Even those who are not believers, we have a lot of people who are not believers, they will come someday to realize that they are only on the face of the earth because of the mercies of the Lord. Whichever religion they practice, whichever deity or deity they worship. And so it's good to be here. My colleague CC is in the studio, ready. I don't think we had any technical issues this morning. So he's raring to go. And therefore, as we said, share the live, share. And again, we have to remind you to subscribe to the channel on YouTube and to follow the page on Facebook. You know, let me tell you all this. It can be sometimes a little annoying. I mean, candid. Yesterday, when the program was scheduled yesterday afternoon, I took time to point out that the gates will be open at 8 o'clock this morning. You know, normally it used to be open at 7. I took pains to point out that gates will be open at 8 o'clock this morning. And I'm sure you will believe that notwithstanding that, shortly after 7, people start to message me, what happened? You have a program today? You got to follow the thing on YouTube. You got to subscribe on YouTube, follow on Facebook. You're going to get notifications. You are going to get notifications, right? So yeah, we were scheduled at 8 o'clock this morning. The gates were open at 8 o'clock. And of course, you didn't have the usual rush at that time, but later on, students were here to come into the schoolyard. And when the doors were open, we are here now. We're up to about 500. We're going to pass 500 in a short while. That is what we have. Weak thumbs up. Right now, we come accustomed to that. You come in and when the program go live, you don't give a thumbs up to show your appreciation. But we're going to continue. We're not going to expel students. We're not going to put you in detention because of that. You know, let's talk about expulsion. There was one student who was warned. She came and she used what I consider some inappropriate words against a certain person. She was warned. And she continued, and she was blocked. And an appeal was made, and the block was removed. So welcome back to that student. Welcome back. You know, we have standards in this classroom. We have standards, and we are going to maintain the standards. There are other programs, not classroom, other programs where anything goes. All type of expletives and all type of name calling. We don't do that here. We don't do that here. We seek to educate. We seek to inform. And we know that we're getting through because notwithstanding the fact that they are not going to acknowledge that we are educating them, when you see their actions after, we know that they have accepted the suggestions and the recommendations. We know that, right? So yeah, share the live, and we're gonna be with you. Now for the roll call, as we have said, we're gonna make the roll call for those persons who are here very early. We're gonna recognize those persons. And this morning had some issues again where a lot of people were struck off, right? But a note was made. And the first person in at 8 when it was scheduled was Peter Noons. He was followed by Aubrey from Canada, Aubrey Pantless. Then it was Desiree Liverpool from Georgia. Ian Lucius came in next. Leon Gibbons, Kerry-Ann Graham, Diane Mitchell, Anthony Bradshaw, Peter Zoll, Bonita Then we have Martin Johnson, Kevin Adonis, Sean Robinson from upstate New York, Pinky Fraser, Evelyn Nelson, Isabella Butters, Boo Alexander, Dion Sobos, Ross Levi, Puran Ramdas from the Essequibo Coast, Pauline Ford Rodney, Brian Saul, Brenda Moore, Courtney Saul. Then we have Pauline McPherson and Marcus Skinner. They were basically the first 25 students in the schoolyard this morning. And in terms of the announcements, we have a few announcements to make. We told you some time ago about the death of businessman, the popular American street businessman Carl Boyce. Well, information is that Carl will be buried on the 4th of October in New York. The 4th of October in New York. We'll give you more details as they come in. And then we told you about the death of policewoman Tamika McIntosh. I think she was stationed at Providence Police Station. We understand that a wake will be held tomorrow night. That's tomorrow the 18th at Providence Police Station from 6 p.m. And then on September the 22nd, there will be another wake at our residence, Lot 46, Chodeville, West Coast, Demerara, and she will be buried on the 24th of this month. And we also informed you of the death of retired Senior Superintendent Lawrence Deodat Narayan Kisoon. Right? He was 64 years old, died sometime last week, And information is that, well, I think as we speak now, arrangements are in place because the viewing should have commenced service at 10 o'clock today in Queens, Elcock Funeral Home, 130-2 Liberty Avenue, Queens, and that will be followed by a cremation. And we told you too about the death of Director General of Foreign Affairs Ministry, Elizabeth Harper. There was a night of reflection last night, and then they say the funeral will take place on the 19th of this month at the Arthur Chung Convention Center. And then this morning, last night, as a matter of fact, we learned of the passing of another former member of the force, ex-woman Sergeant Evelyn Tapin Garnett. Our number was 11105. She died yesterday in the UK, and I'm advised that she was the sister of retired Assistant Commissioner Eddington Tapin, and she worked for some time she was stationed at Immigration Department of the police force. In recent times, the Immigration Department has lost a few ranks, past and serving, and we want to express condolences to all the relatives, friends, colleagues of those who have passed, and pray that the Lord will give them strength to go through this difficult time. Now, let me make this point before I move on. I refer to Miss Elizabeth Harper as the Director General. I see the newspaper and all of those. Some people are saying permanent secretary. If I recall correctly, even though the functions might be the same, permanent secretary, all the ministries, except for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That post is styled Director General. So whereas it might be the same salary and maybe the same position in terms of the Public Service Ministry, the post is styled in the Foreign Affairs Ministry as a Director General. Other ministries, they call it the Permanent Secretary, but in that ministry, that is my recollection. So I thought I'll mention it. And then we had another fatal accident on the East Coast, that is on Wednesday morning, because while the program was going on here, people were advising us that there was another fatal accident somewhere in the Enmore area that has been confirmed. Motorcyclists again lost his life. So I don't know what they're doing. We're not hearing anything. Traffic chief, the other day, the last thing I heard from the traffic chief is that the number of tickets issued and all of that. That is what we understand. But it's worrying. It's worrying. We were told not so long ago that there's some committee put together. I think the former British High Commissioner, Mr. Greg Quinn, is part of that. National Road Safety Council Chairman Lambert is a part of that. What are they doing? What are they doing every week? Every week, so many people are dying on the road. And we're not hearing of any concrete plan to address. And we have made suggestions as to what should be done. I hope they will go back and look at those suggestions, right? First of all, let me repeat it now. This is a national crisis. You can't have every week 2-3 people dying on the road and it's business as usual. It is a national crisis and it should be treated as such. President had an interaction with the media yesterday, and I understand he spoke about several things. One of the most critical things in the country is the human resources that has been decimated. Every week hearing people die on the road, and most of these people are in their productive years. People are dying on the road and we're hearing nothing about it. So maybe it doesn't worry them much, right? Right? So it doesn't worry them much. Good to see my former colleague at the United Nations, Glendon Wilson, back in the classroom. So yeah, that is worrying indeed. And again, condolences to the relatives and friends of all those who have passed. And in terms of the more pleasant announcements, today is the birth anniversary of a very good friend of mine, retired Colonel Enoch Gaskin, retired from the Guyana Defense Force. Enoch Gaskin is observing a natal day today. Enoch, I want to wish you all the best. I know Enoch is one of the retired officers. There are many others who have retired from the force and have maintained their dignity and professionalism. I can say that about Enoch. I can say that. Not about not others like Mark Phillips and them. Disgrace to the uniform that they once wore. There's a matter I'm going to talk about the same line, Mark Phillips, a little later. So that is the birthday greeting that we have. And let me say this before we bring in Mr. Conway. You know, cricket, last night was the eliminator, Antigua Falcons and KKR, Trinidad Light Rider. A good match, but I felt the Falcons did not fly right to the end. They had a fairly good start, but even with the start, let me understand it. If I'm not a cricket analyst, but I like the game and I follow the game closely. And I was saying from very early, the rate that Gocha, what he named, and Django was going at was not satisfactory. You can't be batting and at 120, 115 strike rate at 100. No, that can't happen. When you have all the firepower or a lot more batting to come, they had to have upped the tempo a little earlier. They did not do that. And then at the end, down at the middle, wickets start tumble like bowling pins. And they ended up with what? The score that they ended up with was never going to be a challenging score, except KKR imploded. They want to be challenging score, so we had that. And then there was the unsavory incidents with Puran and the umpire. I mean, the umpire is a young umpire. I know him. From the time the appeal went up, I said not out because I thought the ball was going down the leg side. The leg side. I thought Puran immediately he reviewed it as he has a right to do, but then he continued taking his guard and all and everything, doing things which suggests that he knew he wasn't out. But there are certain protocols, and then there was a second incident again. He got put out, and the behavior was not acceptable. Apparently, they're saying that he was remonstrating. They claim that he apologized later and so on. But you can't do those things. Cannot do those things. You're the captain of the team. You have to set an example. So that marred the thing a little. Tonight, you have the qualifier. You understand? You got to understand these terms. Last night was the eliminator. So the Falcons lost and they are eliminated. They're gone. Right? So tonight, you're going to have the qualifier between Amazon Warriors and the St. Lucia team. They were the finalists last year, and we know St. Lucia prevailed in the end. Right? So there is a rematch. You call it the qualifier. So the winner of this game tonight, starting at 8 o'clock at the Providence Stadium, will go through to the finals. Right through to the finals, you win. The loser get a second chance in that they will now have to play TKR. Right? So that is why when the teams play, they fight to be 1 or 2, because if you end up at number 1 or number 2, then you get a second chance. You lose tonight, you get a second chance. Whereas last night with the eliminator, Falcons last, gone home right away. So we got to understand how this thing works, right? We got to understand how it works. So let me look at the game. And you know, as BL, we said last time, as BL Crum used to say, it's not whether you win or lose, but how you play the game. It's how you play the game. And I was disappointed in Puran. But he did apologize later. But you know, they say, it's beg pardon, beg little by the smash big man foot. Because he could mash his foot and then he said, beg pardon, you're sorry, and so on. But the ill already done. Already done. Let me bring in CC for his opening remarks and comments. CC, welcome, my brother. Welcome.
Morning. Thank you. Happy to be in the land of the living to do God's work. I want to express my sympathy to the friends, relatives, family of the bereaved. And also I want to say happy birthday to Eno Gaskin. I remember him well when they had two bank robberies at the same time in Borbies. I was the commander in Borbies, and he was the operation man in the GDF, and they sent him. So he was my equal. And I think we did some excellent work in terms of getting the men, getting the guns, and getting back the money. Although some people got a whole lot of wet money. But it's another story to talk. I want to shout out to George Griffith, a retired train teacher. He gave over 20 years service to the Guyana Police Force, most specifically the training department, where he was employed as a teacher, teaching English, and also he did a lot of work in terms of talking to the recruits, trying to mold them to be better individuals. George, I just want to use the opportunity to thank you, because I was the first training officer, you gave me excellent support, and you did excellent work to those recruits in terms of teaching them the use of language and also helping them to be good behavior in terms of to be of good conduct and better individuals. Thank you, George. And the cricket, yes, I watch it. And on both occasions, I said he was not out. I was watching it with my wife and I said, not out. He looked like you. I said, not out, not out. But then like his attitude towards the umpire, although at the end of it, it appears though they made up the matter differences. But can't get a captain behaving like that. There are ways and means if you want to put us, but not openly on the field.
You know, it was a sad incident because a sad reflection, because I know the young umpire. What people don't know, I don't know if he's still a member of the force. He used to be a policeman. I don't know if he still is, right? But he is a very promising umpire. And we all make mistakes. Even you go to the international level, where all those people, the Simon Toffrell and the Richard Illingworth and all those guys, we make mistakes because we are human beings. We make mistakes because we're human beings. And CC, talking about Mr. Griffith and teaching English and so on, can you please recommend him to the administration of the Guyana Police Force? Because it seems to be a big problem now with the language. The language. I saw a memo this morning. We ain't got time for going to it today, perhaps later, where the tribal union, they must send out a memo. And as we had found out when we were the police service commission, we used to refer to that person as the capitalist because he has his own rules as to capitalization of words. You know, I learned proper nouns, the first word in a sentence, and those things. But now he gets some different rule. Perhaps every 3 or 4 words must begin with a capital letter. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when you have such a senior person sending out, making all those, well, I don't know if it's mistake, but it's mistakes in terms of how the language should be presented. But I know he making a mistake. If you say he's making a mistake, then you're assuming that he knows. And it's a mistake, but I don't believe he knows. So I don't believe it's a mistake he's making. The man is a capitalist. All sort of board, they were capitalizing, right? And it would appear as though the people there who typing it freak. I don't think he types itself. They are no better. So maybe you could ask Mr. Griffith to have a one-on-one with Tribal Union, the capitalists, right? To tell him that there are certain rules, especially at that level, that you have to abide with. CC, so please recommend Mr. Griffith to him.
Well, I don't know if he would be so inclined, because after I left, they didn't treat him too well, They didn't treat him too well. But it's important that they do a bit of useful language. And I agree with you. I saw a memo this morning from the capitalist. Oh Jesus, if you see capital letters, we ain't supposed to say, oh crap, sure, capital letters, man. Somebody needs to talk to them. Or maybe the others, the executive leadership team, they don't read these things, and nobody don't whisper something in his ear, Skipper, you're using thing wrongly. But anyway, but then he's so strong-headed too, that sometimes he wouldn't even listen. He tell, hey, you, by the way, that I write to you off for right, and them kind of issues. But I love a word with Griffith, though.
Somebody say that Mr. Griffith has impaired sight at this stage, so he might not be in a position to assist. But somebody else should assist, man. Somebody, because this is not a no problem, This is not a no problem. This is a problem that came up all through the ranks. I'm going to talk more about it now. I don't want to embarrass or further embarrass the person. But he had a problem all along. And when you're talking about the language, I will continue to say that the police, and I hope the new Minister of Home Affairs will have a word with them, that when they make these releases, they have to be careful with what they release. We spoke some time ago about the most recent murder-suicide, where a man chopped up his partner, and then he drank poison, right? But the release in that thing for the police is laughable. It's laughable because they say, I'm going to read the whole release, just a part for you to understand what I'm saying, right? He said, shortly after Felicia Narayan Carl Tonja, the 18-year-old daughter of the deceased, was contacted by a neighbor, Nita, who told her that Singh was assaulting her mother. Felicia rushed to the sawmill compound, where she discovered her mother's motionless body with apparent chop wounds. She then reported the matter to the Springlands police station. Hear the kicker, listen carefully. Police launched a search and later found Singh about 360 feet away in a sideline trench under a tree, where he was suspected to have ingested poison. He was arrested, cautioned, and taken to the hospital, where he later died while receiving treatment. So what they're telling me, they ordered the man who killed his wife. That's somewhere nearby, 360 feet, that is close away. He died in a sideline trench under a tree. He was in a sideline trench under a tree. And then they say, where he was suspected to have ingested poison. So this man drank poison, and they're under a tree. That's what they say, They arrested him, they cautioned him, and then they took him to the hospital. You tell me if that makes sense. This man obviously dying. This is a dying man. They suspect that he ingested poison. He's there under a tree in a trench, dying, and they arrest him and they caution him. Caution a dying man. Wonder what was his response when he was cautioned. I wonder what was his response. These things, and again, let me understand this thing, is not finding fault, is not picking at them, but we make the point that these releases are made to the public. You're made to the general public, so you have to be very careful. We're talking about being respected. And when you release these nonsensical things, what do you think people are going to tell you? What do you believe people believe? And I believe this is all happening because you have an incompetent man as the head of the unit there. Incompetent Mark Ramatar. He incompetent if he sees this and allows it to go out. And he incompetent if he is in charge of a unit and does not have a mechanism to make sure these things are vetted before they go out. Yes, Maureen, everybody's saying this thing. This man dying, he drink poison, so they're dying under this tree in a trench. And they said they arrest you. Yeah, maybe you arrest you, you can't distribute. But you caution this man. You're cautioning. That's what you want people to believe, that this man who is dying after ingesting poison, chopping up his partner, ingesting poison, and you're cautioning. You're cautioning. Well, you can't be surprised because the head of the OPR gave sworn testimony in a court that he cautioned Boscom, Detective Sergeant Boscom, over the telephone. He cautioned him over the telephone. That's the evidence he gave. So you see where we there. I know that is not alone. Let me tell you the next one. Let me tell you the next one. Carelessness. Carelessness. They issued a release. And hear what it says. About 9:30 hours, police team spotted and searched minibus BVV 887, which was en route to Lethem from Georgetown, and found 26.5 pounds of narcotics behind one of the passengers, Clive Tornell, who was subsequently arrested for possession of narcotics for trafficking. Tornell, a 40-year-old fisherman from Lethem, was arrested after he admitted ownership of the narcotics. When cautioned and told of the allegation of possession of narcotics for the purpose of trafficking, Tornell said, quote, "Sir, give your boy a chance. He's a little hustle," end of quote. At the time of the drug bust, the minibus was driven by somebody else, a 40-year-old minor. But here, what? Well, look the mugshot that they released. Look the mugshot of Clive Tornell. Clive Tornell, look what they are, right? Possession of narcotics for the purpose of trafficking, that is what this abbreviation means. Date of birth, the 26th of March, 1997. He born 1997, and they say he's 48 years old. Right? And don't tell me about mistake. Don't tell me. These things ought to be properly vetted and checked. How he got born 1997 and he's 48 years old? How he got born 1997 and he's 48 years old? These things should not be allowed to go into the public domain. It brings the force to further disrepute. And I hope the new minister, because Ben was incapable of doing anything, I hope the new minister will look into all this. Because when you talk about the image of an organization, all of these things work towards destroying the image of the force, whatever little image is left. To almost every release that they make, they write a lot of nonsense. And let me say this, because one of the things we commented on before, they like to put the names of the ranks and details that ought not to be given out to the public. I read a release yesterday or sometime recently where they claim that it was a sergeant. And I said, well, they're learning because they did not put the sergeant name, right? But then having done that, then yesterday they had something where they put a sergeant or a detective sergeant from a particular station. Again, the person can be identified. How many sergeants would have at the station? And the point I'm making, these things are being done, and apparently nobody can recognize that you are in the environment in which you live. They are putting people's life, their family's life at risk, at stake. What is it? What is the benefit of telling the public that Sergeant so made this arrest? What is the benefit of that? What is the benefit of saying a sergeant from, I think, on some outpost made the arrest? What is the benefit? The arrest was made. You don't even have to put the person's rank. You don't have to put the person's name. You're endangering those persons. Like, for example, this might not have been the police when they had the recent issue at the Eugene Correa Airport, where a man coming from Region 1 with drugs and run. They put the name of the man who chased him. They put the name of the man who chased and apprehended him. A man with a whole set of drugs. You put in the person's name there, and you can see that you're likely to endanger that person's life, the family members and all of that. It's that type of carelessness we're talking about. And again, I say I hope that the new minister, right, while one want to debate whether it's policy or operational, I'm sure the minister, being a lawyer and being a former magistrate, can find some way to convey to them that these things should not be done. Some way to convey to them, don't put the lives and safety of those ranks at risk. Do not do that. Do not do that. There's no need for you to give out all the information that you give out. No need for that. Let me bring in CC. CC, your comment on this carelessness. And the other, that is the word what the traffic chief they use, that the man died due to carelessness.
Senseless. He said it was
Senseless.
senseless.
Yeah, go ahead, my brother. Go ahead.
I agree with you. Is that they put in things that are not relevant, and then they full up the thing with other irrelevancies too. 360 feet away from the scene and all kind of nonsense. Where's the relevance of that? And as you mentioned, they're putting people's lives in jeopardy, putting lives at the risk. This drug situation is a serious situation, and they're not doing the police any good when they mention a name. Don't mention the name. But you mentioned that you might not easily find a sergeant. Put a sergeant there, because some station get 4 and 5 sergeants, so you got to do a process of elimination. Since the 2,800 promotions, some station and the sergeant get 6 sergeants, So we got to be careful. But I agree with you that the releases coming out of the police is piss poor. A lot of irrelevancies and inaccuracies.
Yeah, piss poor. And if you will continue, that is the PPP. Piss poor performance continues. PPPC. Piss poor performance continues. Or you could say piss poor performance and corruption. That is what is going on. Now let me give you another update. We like to we talk about these matters and then their developments. So as the developments come, we want to bring it to your attention. We reported to you some time ago that there was this acid throwing incident in East Street by the Balwant Singh Hospital, where it was reported that 2 cashiers came out to go to a snacket nearby, and somebody threw acid in the face. I think the aim was to the one woman who got the brunt of the, and there was a splattering on the other person. Now it has been reported in today's Kaicho News, and I can tell you why I'm reporting this again. It says, man charged with throwing acid on women. So somebody is charged with throwing acid on these women. Let me read. They said Kieran Daniels was yesterday charged with 2 counts of throwing a corrosive substance when he appeared before magistrate at the Georgetown Magistrate Court. It's alleged that on September the 3rd, 2025 at Middle and East Street, Daniels threw acid on Jalika Leach and Nirmala Sogdio. He was not required to enter plea to the indictable charges. The prosecution, in objecting to bail, informed the court that video footage exists of the incident. They also informed the court that Leach, who was still hospitalized, has lost her sight due to the attack and would require surgery. The magistrate requested that the footage be presented to the court and subsequently denied bail. The matter was now adjourned to today, that is today, when the video evidence is expected to be shown in court. On September the 3rd, Leach and her colleague left their cashier job at the hospital to purchase lunch in a supermarket on East Street, when a man exited a car and threw a substance on Leach, and in the process, the other woman sustained minor injuries. Leach was rushed to the public hospital, Georgetown, as a pillion rider on the motorcycle of a Good Samaritan, where she remains hospitalized. Here's a story now. On Monday, Crime Chief Wendell Blanham named Daniels of Lot 67, Iflock Pasture, West Coast, Demerara, as the mastermind behind the attack, as he confessed to employing the services of 2 other men to commit the act, as he was angry at Leach for informing his partner of their affair. According to the crime chief, Daniels told investigators that he shared a relationship with Leach, but he wanted to end it after she informed his wife about the said relationship and things escalated between them. He then hired the prime suspect, who Blanham said is well known to the police and is the person who threw the acid on Leach, and another man whose identity is unknown at the time. The 3rd man was said to have been the driver of the car on the day of the incident. The other 2 men are yet to be arrested. No. Folks, only the other day we had a class where we told you how a person can be connected to a crime. Remember that, student? Remember we were talking about somebody said just saw he was granted $500,000 bail, right? Now, we told you about the way a person can be connected with a crime. 4 ways. Principal in the first degree, principal in the second degree, accessory before the fact, accessory after the fact. Now, given what is related here, that is what is related in this paper where they said the crime chief said, how is it that this man, Karen Daniels, can be charged for throwing acid on these women? How can that? How is that? Tell me, how is that? Based on what they say, he hired. Hear what they say now? Hear what they say? According to the crime chief, Daniels told investigators that he shared a relationship with Leach, but he wanted to end the relationship after she informed his wife about the said relationship and things escalated between them. He then hired the prime suspect, who Blanham said is known to the police and is the person who threw the acid on Leach. My good Lord, Mr. Blanham, if Daniels, as you claim, hired someone to throw, who he would be the person who threw, would be the principal in the first degree. The person who was with him there, principal in the second degree. How come Daniels is charged for throwing, not an accessory to this crime, but according to what they're saying, is throwing. He is charged with throwing the acid. When you are saying that in the man's confession, he said he and the woman broke up, he wanted to end the relationship because she going to catch up on him. He get a relationship with this woman, and she going to tell, after they broke up, she's going to tell the man's wife or reputed wife, well, me and you man did there. Right? And he vexed over that. He hired someone, that's what they're saying. He hired the prime suspect, who Blanham said is known to the police and is the person who threw the acid on Leach. Oh my Lord. And yeah, he's a liar. I hope that this newspaper misrepresented him and that sometime today, either through direct release from the CID, the crime chief, or through the police corporate communication unit, they will clear this up. I hope they would clear it up, because when I read it this morning, I said, no, this can't be true. The crime chief, a lawyer, a person admitted to practice law in Guyana, cannot say something like this. He can't. A button fee. The paper misrepresented what he said. Mr. Branham, Deputy Commissioner, clear it up, man. Clear it up. Because you as a crime chief, you as a lawyer, would not tell the paper that this man who hired somebody to throw this acid on this woman, that he is charged with throwing the acid. I can't believe that. Not an accessory, according to them. Not an accessory. Because based on what I told you, in the manner a person can be connected with a crime, I would think that he's an accessory before the fact. He organized this thing. But to say that he's, to imply or to say that he was a principal in the first degree, that he threw, when you come and you contradict that, to say that the man who threw is well known to the police. I can't believe this. I can't believe. So please, Mr. Blanham, please, for the maintenance of whatever little dignity and self-respect you have, clarify this. Tell Starbrook News that they misquoted you. Write something and correct this. Right? Please. And thank you. Let me bring in Mr. Conway, man. See, I couldn't believe when I read that. To read it back a second time and a third time. Right?
I read it, but I always saying I'm not impressed with the crime chief. That man should have been put in charge for aiding, abetting, or procuring the person to commit the offense, which is inflicting the grievous bodily harm, to maim, disfigure, disable, or cause grievous bodily harm. He aided, he abetted, he procured the person, or he assisted the person. So he cannot be the principal in the first degree. But then Mr. Blanham is a lawyer. Perhaps he reading different books than we read, So I say I'm not impressed with Blanum. I'm not impressed with him. So certain things that he utter, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Back to definition here, man. We got to teach, they're listening. That's a based on legal principles. A person can be connected to a crime in 4 primary ways, evolving from older common law to modern statutes. 1, principle. A principal is the person who directly commits the act, known as the actus reus. Every crime must have at least one principal. For example, if John is the one who pulls the trigger to shoot someone, he is the principal. Then you have accomplice. An accomplice or an accessory before the fact, in all the legal terminology, is a person who aids, assists, and encourages the commission of a crime. Key characteristics of an accomplice include they often assist in planning or preparing for the crime. They are typically present when the crime is committed. Though in some jurisdiction, this is not a requirement. They can face the same penalties as the principal offender or same. For example, if Rob helps John plan a shooting and awaits in a getaway car, he's an accomplice, right? So I don't know. Again, I don't know what law book they're reading. I don't know. Perhaps it's them. Can't be them thieving books. Can't be the thieving books, right? So somebody is saying that maybe some legal persons from the DPP's chamber recommend the charge. Well, they get dancing liars and people all over the place. But I would have thought that even if that charge is recommended, you must peruse it when it comes back, because in case you all don't know, if matters are to go to the DPP, that is how I knew it, but if it still continues, all those matters would pass through the crime chief. So even a divisional commander, the traffic officer, anybody sending a file for legal advice, it has to be routed through the crime chief. He gets an opportunity to see all those files. And then is the reverse once the advice is given. They send it back to the crime chief, and he sends it to the respective officers. Right? So wait there and see. I have had cases, mind you, where you make recommendations, you send a file for legal advice, and the advice you get when you read it, you recognize it is wrong. I've had several such cases when I was commander, it is wrong, and I don't implement no charge. I will then seek, because many times it's some junior officer at the DPP's chamber, right? So I have had cases where I had to then get the DPP herself or himself, when it was the Yanchan, involved to say, look, I don't agree with this recommendation because of so. And every time I did that, they came back and they agreed with me. Every time. Because that is what you are supposed to do. You're not a conveyor belt. You're just passing through and passing through and passing through. So I hope that they correct that. I hope that it's corrected, because, well, the man was not required to plead. They said today he was granted bail in the sum of $500,000. There are remedies. The fact that he might have been charged, again, I'm saying I have not seen the information sworn to, because remember, they said he was not required to plead. So again, young policemen, it means that somebody would have gone before the court and swore to an information. It's not a complaint without oath. Because if a complaint without oath, it means there would have been a summary charge before the magistrate. The fact that the report says he was not required to plead, it means that indictable charge has been instituted. And if the indictable charge has been instituted, it enters the court through an information upon oath. So somebody has to go into the box and swear to the information alleged to this crime. And I don't believe it's too late if you believe that the information sworn to, if it is that you say he's a principal, is wrong. There are remedies, man. There are remedies. Go and seek advice. There are remedies. So let's understand. I mean, some of the things I try to break it down for the younger policemen and members of the public as well to understand. Again, I say, I wasn't there, but I'm following what is being reported. And they're reporting that he was not required to plead. And the reason why he was not required to plead, because the charge is indictable. The charge is indictable. And if the charge is indictable, it means someone would have gone into the box and swore to the information on oath. They swear to the information before the magistrate. And then the magistrate would read the charge and say, you're not required to plea because the charge is indictable. If at some stage they decide to proceed with the charge summary, if they decide to administer the Administration of Justice Act, which allows for indictable charge to be tried summarily, then what happens? The magistrate will make that decision after listening to arguments, right? Then the charge will be reread. Once the Administration of Justice Act is applied, the charge will be reread to the defendant. And the defendant will be asked to plead now to the summary charge. Can you remember again? Summary charge, magistrate, defendant. Indictable charge, PI, judge and jury, accused. So you're going to understand these differences, young policemen. They don't teach you these things in training school now, but you have to understand these things, right? And many times a charge is laid and they find out that maybe the charge may be wrong. They don't redraw, but the charge can be you can rest it sine die indefinitely and institute a new charge. Because once the trial starts, that's it. Once the trial starts, that's it. If the person is acquitted or convicted, can't bring back the same charge. Don't let me deal with conviction now. If the person is acquitted, they go to a trial, can't bring back the same charge. Archer for acquit, right? Can't bring back the same charge. So let me understand what's going on. Now let me bring in Mr. Conway to give his closing on this. And I'm sure he's anxious to say something too. And then we're going to move on to the next issue. CC, let me hear you as an old prosecutor.
Yeah, I not only as an old prosecutor, also as a commander in terms of dealing with files. And we have very few commanders who could handle files. And we have very few detective officers who could handle files. Remember, one had to find a piece of paper to read the charge, the caution against the mayor. But the thing is that you as commander, you're sitting there and files come to you, you need to read them. And my experience is that police will write some nice, good reports. But when you go into statements, the statements not backing up the reports. So when file come to me, I used to read statements first and then look at the report. And on many occasions, I didn't agree with the DPP advice. And I made my comments, passed through back the system, and DPP change. And sometimes they have some very junior people just out of our school in the DPP office, and they handle those matters, without reference to the senior. I remember a case. They had a retired senior officer was about to retire. Paul, you know the case. And he was involved in a fatal accident on the railway embankment. And he was the only witness. They had any other witness available, and it was around twilight. And the investigator, the sergeant, recommended inquest. The traffic chief in C Division then recommended inquest. Commander, me, recommended inquest. I go to the traffic chief, he said inquest. Go to the CID, inquest. And then it went to DPP. And one of them lawyers who just out of law school wrote one sentence: charge the driver for causing death by dangerous driving. And they came back to me, and I didn't agree with it. And we sent it back with our comments. And the DPP agreed, or she said, inquest. And that was the end of it. But you find a lot of commanders, they can't handle file. They're like conveyor belts. And I'm not sorting what happened at CID also. But the thing is that you need to read the file, you need to read the statements, and make sure that the thing is established. And not because DPP is a charge, you charge. If you don't agree, put on your views, put on your comments, and if the DPP go back to you and say, well, you proceed, well, then you have to proceed. And that's how I know it.
Yeah, that's the way. But again, you say the commanders now don't know how to handle file, and that's because they are not trained to do these things. They're just put into these positions, right? First of all, let me tell you something about files, right? You're there as commander, when, especially some detective officers, some, not all, come to you because this file is needed urgently and all them, not me. My antennas go up right away. I ain't put him in signature or put your foot, as they say, on a file and just send it like that. No, I got to read it. When it comes to, let me tell you all this too. At a place like A Division in particular, where I saw for a number of years, it's difficult to give a file your proper attention, your undivided attention during the course of the day. Difficult. Phone ringing, people calling, all several things come up. You can't concentrate on a file. I used to wait till evenings, and then weekends, on Saturdays, sometimes on Sundays, you go back in the office, and it might surprise you. You go back there a Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Within 2 to 3 hours, it's going to surprise you the amount of work you can get done in that period, that short window, because you are uninterrupted, you can concentrate. Whereas during the course of the week, you can spend all day and you get to understand the thing. And it's not only writing, but reading and understand the essence of the charge or the essence of the report. That is how I dealt with it. That is how, and I'm recommending that. Forget about, especially those busy divisions, forget about reading files. Many other divisions, for example, when I was at B Division and even Borbies and all those places, you got sufficient time during the course of the working hours to read because it wasn't so busy. But Georgetown in particular, so many activities and things happening all the time. You can't get to concentrate on a file properly during the course of the working hours. So you have got to carve out a time during the course of the day when you're going to dedicate to going through files. And I've said, if it's a 1 hour or a 2 hour, it will surprise you at the amount of work you can get done in that short period of time because you give your undivided attention to the issue. So that is part of the advice. You know, we come and we give advice. To the student who is saying here, if it's the same law, if you allow a person to hide in your house that is wanted by the police, same concept, slightly different, then you're going to be an accessory after the fact. If you know a person is wanted by the police and you attempt to hide or cover up some crime, you're an accessory after the fact because the crime has already been committed and the person is wanted in connection with the crime. If you hide that person, then you're an accessory after. In the case of this issue that we talked about with the children of acid, is a case where it would appear based on what I said, this man planned it before the crime was committed. So he's an accessory before the fact. So that is the difference. One is before, one is after, right, June? So that is what it is. Now let me move on. Let's move on. Got another issue. Guyana is not a real place. Guyana is not a real place, right? Let me go for. Oh, we're just past it. Just approaching the 1 hour mark. You recall when the president had that vision, I think it was on the 30th of July, 2020, when he decided to go to police and he promoted a whole set of police and so on. Whole set. No proper checks were done. No checks. There was no due diligence, right? So people who retire, people who left the work, people who get disciplinary matters, all sort of things. For example, we told you about Gilbert, who had left and he get promoted to corporal, talk about all them things. Then we learned too, and I'm going into an issue reported in yesterday's Stabrook News. The caption, ex-policeman on trial over MFK owner murder, right? The policeman is on trial, was on trial day before yesterday. This is the 16th. Here what it says, former veteran policeman Leon Lindo yesterday appeared before Justice Simone Morris at the High Court in Demerara, where he is to stand trial for conspiracy to commit murder, right? He's accused of conspiring with Lennox Wayne, called Two Colors, to murder the city businessman Mohammed Farad Khan. He entered a plea of not guilty when the charge was read to him. His trial is set to commence today, that is yesterday. Lindo is being represented by Attorney Dexter Todd, while the case for the state is being presented by Padma Dubraj. Then they said they gave a description of the murder. Khan, the proprietor of MK Trading, was killed back in 2014. His decapitated body was discovered at Cummings Lodge in September 2024. He scores them. That's what they say there, the report. Is but let me read back what they say, Sometimes this thing with the language. They say Khan, the proprietor of MFK Trading, was killed in 2024. His decapitated body was discovered at Cummings Lodge in September 24. East Coast Demerara. Not Cummings Lodge, East Coast Demerara. With Cummings Lodge in September 24, East Coast Demerara. Before the time indicated, one leg was missing, and I'll go into some of the details, which I don't need to go into at this stage. But why am I mentioning this? This policeman, this is what I call a veteran policeman. The man was charged in 2014. 2014. He was charged and he was interdicted pending the outcome of this charge, which is standard. 2014. The matter came up day before yesterday in the High Court. Day before yesterday. Do you know that this same man, while he was interdicted, right, he reached his mandatory retirement age of 55. He reached his mandatory retirement age of 55 sometime last month or something. Do you know that in this vision that the president get, he was one of the men promoted to inspector. A man who is interdicted since 2014, whilst on interdiction. And whilst he had reached the age to retire, he got promoted to inspector. And they're talking about incompetence. We told you, President get the vision, a nightmare. Broke up. Let me say this. That's what they did there, promoting 2,800 and something people for buy votes and so on, right? They're gonna destroy that's one of the things to destroy the police force further. Destroy. Because you have a lot of people now, and let me understand it. You got some people who are deserving of their promotions. People who are deserving of the promotion and were not promoted because of victimization and that. So some of them deserve the promotion. But conversely, you have a lot of them. Right? Who this man was the murder took place in 2014. The man was charged in 2015. Let me correct that. He was charged in 2015 and interdicted in 2015. And while he is on interdiction, he reached 55 years, and therefore, unless, like the squatter, he would have had to retire. And in that whole thing, while interdicted, while retired, promoted to inspector. And I have the evidence, I don't talk while. I have the evidence. Promoted to inspector. How the system so broke up. Well, I'm happy to report, because I know the sergeant. I'm happy to report that yesterday when the matter came up, the main witnesses, the same man who they said he conspired with Two Colors. Two Colors was well known among the people in Ghana, notorious sports around the place. Conspired. Man failed to turn up the evidence. A senior police officer who I understand, who is alleged, lied on this man for him to get charged. Tell lie pony for him to get charged. Failed to turn up to give evidence to. They put up the thing yesterday because they say he's abroad and he should have appeared via Zoom to give it. Never appeared. So then the prosecution, I understand, were asking for the matter to be postponed further. And Mr. Dr. Dexter Todd, objected and said, look, if they don't have any witnesses, the call this matter going on since 2015, you're asking for further postponement, you had all this time to prepare. Impress upon the magistrate that they should close the case. The prosecution should close the case, which they did. And of course, no case of submission. Matter dismissed. Matter is dismissed. My brother, I am glad for you. After all those years, right, 2015 to 2025, 10 years, no? 10 years. Can you imagine that? Destroy that man's life. Destroy that man's life. right? So let me understand. Now, my brother, let me tell you this publicly, because you know you're going to get the royal run around to get what is yours. Because the fact that the matter is dismissed by the High Court, you got to watch out to see if they're going to appeal. Right? I think they're going to get 40 days within which to appeal the decision of the judge to take the case. Once the 14 days pass and they're going to appeal, then you have got to know, they got to reinstate you. You have to be reinstated, and there's a squatter. You have to be reinstated from the date you were interdicted. And then what happened? Because you would have been interdicted and placed on half pay. So for that 10 years that you were interdicted and placed on half pay, you got to get that money. You got to get a 10-year half pay. Now, in all of that, you have reached the age of retirement. You got to get involved. You got to pursue this thing so that they now got to make sure that your retirement benefits and all of that thing, all those are computed properly. Your retirement benefits have to be computed so they know what day you retire from, and you got to get your gratuity, you got to get everything. Don't sit back and allow this to go. Don't sit back. It's going to take a long time. You have got to pursue it, because I suspect you're going to ask the squatter, they'll get a clue. NFC, no clue. That is the N, and the C is clue. The F, you decide what the F means. NFC, right? So therefore, I caution you to make sure that you pursue your benefits. This is an injustice done because people lie on you. Now, all this thing, somebody talk about lawsuit, you got to make sure you get what is yours first. Even if you want, and it's not, they say it's not easy, but make sure you get all that. You might have to get a lawyer involved to make sure that you get all your benefits, your half pay and your retirement benefits. All that you must get. Lock it off is your own. But it shows how the system is corrupt. President promote man who interdicted. Like you say, it's not he tell them. First of all, the man was promoted to inspector. Only the Police Service Commission can promote to inspector. There was no Police Service Commission. Then they squatted the right to say the Police Service Commission had made this promotion since February of this year. They had made it since February this year when they were alive, but they only now releasing it. When in fact they released a lot of promotions in February of this year, but they didn't release those. All enough people are promoted to senior ranks and so on. They didn't release them. That is the corruption this government encourages. They are part of it. Corruption and incompetence. They're messing up the old system. They are messing it up. And I will continue to call them out. Let me bring in Mr. Conway for him to have his say on this. I'm sure CC know of the matter and he knows the person. CC.
Yes, I know the person and I know the matter very well. But 2015, 10 years ago, and you wanted to know sometime, what really the police doing? So much of incompetence. Here is it, a sergeant get promoted when there is no police service commission. And then even if they had a service commission, they are talking about the current one, they would have just rubber stamped the thing. And I sometimes ask, why they don't look at interdicted ranks? In our days, Paul, you know that we had to answer monthly. The admin used to be the lead person. And as we go to the monthly meetings, it's on the agenda, interdicted ranks, and we have a report on them. Right now, one came to me, interdicted for 12 years. He got off on the High Court last year, June. And up to now, they can't reinstate him. You hear what they say? They ain't finding any file. I sent him to a certain person, and like his NFA, no, and you should know what the S stands for, action. that they're not checking on interdicted ranks. And then we had one in the famous Region 3. A policeman gets sentenced to 9 months imprisonment. He go and he served his time, came back. He wasn't dismissed. Came back and asked what's the position. Then they discover that they used to draw his wife used to draw his salary for 9 months whilst he was serving his time in prison. No action against anybody. He just left just so. Nothing from the station sergeant, nothing from the sub-range officer, nothing from the commander or the 2IC, nothing from the finance people. A man served 9 months in prison and draw all the 9 months in salary, and they're telling you, hey, you got to pay back for the 9 months that your wife did drawing for you. And the thing is that they have no proper system. Maybe all them system just broke down, just got we say gone for channel. Here it is. A man who's interdicted get promoted. Yeah? What's going on in the police force? There's no checks and balances. When we were on this police service commission, we used to check every file. There are two wonderful ladies there, Vesta Adams and Claire Jarvis. Them girls used to check minutely. Vesta used to use our financial background in terms of auditing, in terms of checking. Well, Claire used to use our human resource skills that you have to check, and there is no substitute for checking. None. Person recommended for getting inspected, nobody ain't checking. Nobody ain't know that he depend on interdiction. Give me a break. And unless something radical is done, I hear the new Home Affairs Minister would start visiting from today, visiting all the divisions in the country. And I hope that she check properly. I hope that she do the proper checks and just go in the station, walk in and walk out and say, everything all right, everything. I hope she get a proper team to assist her. Not Ben. She mustn't work with Ben at all. Ben mustn't be nowhere around there. And if she's going to check, she needs to have a proper team to check and to know what she's looking for. Not just to go in and say inspect. I agree inspection is an indispensable tool of management, but it's why you're inspecting. So I know she's just going to walk in the station, hey, how you do? And she gone she way. Follow the inspection. There's a standing order dealing with notified inspection. Follow the pattern. Take some of the things off the standing. I think standing order number 8 when you go and inspect minister. Look at standing order number 8 and it will guide, take it as a guide as you go on and inspect. I saw a correspondence from the tribal union informing the officers that the minister will be checking. So, minister, please make sure you read the standing order number 8, and also you have a proper team to guide you. Not with Ben. Don't worry Ben at all. And that's all I need to say.
Now, let me say this. Let me respond to a student. A student is saying that if the promotion was released early this year, then the person was qualified. No, the person could not have been qualified. That man was interdicted since 2015. Wilfred, the man was interdicted since 2015. I have nothing against him. He talk about the system. You can't be interdicted and then qualify for promotion. He's interdicted pending the outcome of a criminal charge. That would even prevented him from going to the station unless he goes there to make a report. Right? So y'all don't come and challenge some things just like that. Now let me talk about the inspection story. Minister, I concur with Mr. Conway. Can't go by yourself. You got to get a competent team to accompany you. Competent team. When I was commander the division, my young first command, divisional command, Larry Lewis, the commissioner of police, came to do inspection, notified inspection. That is something that's done now. You don't get notified inspection, but the standing order dictates that you must get notified inspection. So we get a notified inspection, and of course, all the station in D division, including Wales, was to be inspected. Right? The station sergeant in charge of Wales, Miss Kwadi Ali, was on leave, and a certain corporal was holding on for him. And prior to the notified inspection, a contact, a source of mine in the village, came and told me that, look, something wrong at Wales police station. So I said, oh, you mean? He said the corporal in charge of the station, there in the village, borrowing money from people to make up his record. He was borrowing money from people to make up his records. I say, all right. Commissioner Lewis used to work with Malvin Peters from finance. Use commissioner, use minister, you can't check. Commissioner can do the pep talk and the thing, but you get somebody checking firearms, somebody checking cash records, somebody used to do the Pablo Yewood used to check occurrence book and crime book. All right. So when we went to the station for the inspection, of course, everything, when I check, Pito check, we tell Pito, say, Pito, check the cash record, because there is something wrong. Pito check, Pito report to me. Everything good, all the money, attack, prisoners' property, bail, everything. So I reported the commissioner, everything correct, and so on. Right? My source come back and tell me, say, hey, money borrowed, returned. Money or monies that were borrowed from people in the Wales district were returned after the inspection. I say, all right. I pick up me finance man, Beckles. Y'all remember Beckles? He got charged with something that tall Beckles. And I said, Beckles, we going to, may I tell you where we're going? I said, we're going and do an impromptu visit. And I turned up at Wales police station with Beckles. And the corporal was in the process of handing back over the station to Sergeant Ali. Hey! And I walk in. When I walk in, I say, look, I'm here to do an impromptu inspection. This is about a week after the commission inspection. You know. You see, Sister Assessor? You see, big perspiration dropping out my forehead. Big perspiration. So I told Miss Scotty, I said, Scotty, you look uncomfortable. What is it? You can't talk. You stammer. You like Jack Dio with the suit thing, you stammer. I said, look, level with me. If something is wrong, let me know something wrong. He tell me how money shot. I said, money shot? What type of money? He said, bail money and prisoners' property shot. So how he shot? Then he tell me, the man who took over from him interfered with the money. Right? And he the now thing. So they got to do, because once a notified inspection, thing and right. I had an experience, I had a report to a site not so long ago. Breakdown property room. I was there as a 2IC to Mr. Retired Deputy Commissioner Bombry. He was Assistant Commissioner at the time. And we get report that things not regular in the property room. Things not regular. And then when we go and when we start, that's a big investigation. A board of inquiry was established. I was the secretary for that board. Larry Lewis put McDonald as the chairman. You had Tapin, I think, was there, same retired Assistant Commissioner Tapin, and Kenneth Barron. We comprised that board of inquiry. And when we check, all them officers, as the secretary write the report, is I think only one officer who was not recommended to get trouble. Because you know what happened? Breakdown. The other man named, y'all remember he dead now, I could call his name, Karachi Singh. He was OC number 1. And he lazy. So when he sat in his office and he doing checks, let me see the prisoner's property to buy cash. I want cap. Let me say cap $200,000. He checked, yeah, $200,000. Right? Let me see bail money they buy. Right? Check. Same money was being recycled. The same money was being recycled. And Singh was the bluffing Singh. Ma bluffing Singh. So again, I learned from that. When you have a check, cash and thing, you gotta wait it's done. You gotta wait this is done so they can recycle the money for you. Officers, SOs, and you gotta learn these things. You gotta learn these things. This is experience. Other than that, you sit down in the office, man, I'm gonna carry $200,000 for evil prisoners' property. They say, all right, this is okay. Bring the bail money. Carry back the same $200,000 and give. Recycle the same money. But you are going to learn these things. And again, I say that is a problem you have now, where you don't have courses, junior officer courses, where retired, experienced senior officer come and interact with the senior people and tell them of the. You don't find these things in books. You don't find them in books. Even if your thief laugh book, you're going to find them inside. People got to relate their experiences to you so that you learn from that. You learn from that. So that we understand it. And talking about files, CC, you spoke about files where the man who today can't find the file. There's one man, I don't know, there might be many others. This man encountered some health issues some time ago, and he left the job. He had to leave because of health issues, serious health concerns and so on. Now, the man is on dialysis and asked to get dialysis 2 times a week. 2 times a week. Now, in order for him to get assistance from the National Insurance Scheme, the NIS, he got to, of course, produce the records and so on. The man has been running around the police headquarters. They can't find the record. They cannot find his record. The man is there suffering because the cost is prohibitive, and he can't afford to get the treatment as often as he should get. Now, I could tell you that is serious concern. Serious concern. I traveled to India in 2005 along with an agent from Trinidad. He organized everything. We were going there to inspect these bulletproof vehicles and so on. We went through London. And he had arranged, he was on dialysis, he had arranged when he got to London, he had to get dialysis there. When he get to New Delhi, something went wrong in London initially. And I could tell you, the man decided back to Trinidad. He told me, Paul, if I can get this, I can dead. So I going back. I'm going to abort this mission. I going back. But luckily, something was arranged and he got the dialysis in London. And then we went on to New Delhi. So it's serious. And I am pleased to say that I think they talked recently about additional dialysis machines and so on. So maybe, I don't know, the person tell me listens to this program, maybe you can pursue free treatment too, free dialysis treatment. Maybe that is an option while the police trying to find your records to make sure you can get your benefit from the NIS. Maybe you can pursue that as well. As a matter of fact, I now remember, CC, the gentleman had asked me to give him your number. I'll do so when the program is finished. Yes, CC. Yeah.
Yeah, Paul, so they need to make sure that they be accountable for their actions. And you can't get people interdicted, win the case a year and a half ago, and the persons want to come back in the work because it was a wrongful charge they got. They love the police, but they tell them, we can't find your file, we can't find your file, we can't find your file. There must be some system. The matter went to the High Court, and the general office don't have records. The admin doesn't have records. Or people just say, hey, we find your file, let's story done. People would suffer, just like how you said, the man with the dialysis suffering, and all because of the lack of proper action by the police. I want to recommend to them, go back to the monthly meeting where you have the interdiction meeting, persons before the court. And I think the last time when I make some check, they had about 50-something police before the court, or 50-something policemen before the court who were interdicted. Check the cases, make sure the witnesses also go to court, don't know like what happened the other day, But the thing is that they need to get back to bases and make sure that they have proper checks in terms of ranks who are interdicted, so that they can't promote anybody who is interdicted. And somebody can't be waiting for over a year and a half they win the case for them to be reinstated. It's all wrong.
Yeah, very wrong. And talking about that, remember, Assistant Commissioner Andrews Jr. charged with us a conspiracy to commit fraud. Matter dismissed since 28th of December 2023. 28th of December 2023, coming up to 2 years now. Up to now, the man can't be reinstated. Up to now. And they talking, but you know, they say, Crow say you want, this is what you want. Crow says, so, you know, I'm going to play the song for you later, this is what you want. Right? Now, let me come to Lion Mark Phillips. We reported to you on Monday that there was a partial collapse of the McKenzie Bridge, right? Where a cyclist and a pillion, some child was left dangling, caused a part collapse. Mark Phillips decided to lay the blame on the Linden Town Council for the maintenance of the bridge. They sent him out. You know, they sent him to front. So they sent him out for him to make a statement to say, well, is the Linden Town Council responsible for the maintenance of the bridge? And therefore, the fact that the bridge might have been partially collapsed is not the government, is the Linden Town Council. You know, the Linden Town Council controlled by the opposite, the coalition then. But this morning, or sometime yesterday, David Patterson was a former minister, same infrastructure where the bishop there now. He wrote something which is worth reading, right? He wrote something. He said, the depths of the PPP will sink concerning spreading misinformation, even on the simplest of issues, is astonishing. The PM, that is Mark Phillips he referring to, who reportedly hails from Linden, is often used as the conveyor of false information, although he has direct ministerial authority over the state media. Mark Phillips. Lion Mark Phillips. So here what is it? In his latest statement, blaming neglect by the Linden Town Council as the reason for the Wismar Bridge mishap is another sad reflection of how far this once proud, outstanding former soldier is now willing to sink to please his new comrades' agenda. Well, I agree with that part, David. Once proud, outstanding former soldier, right? Saying that he was once proud, outstanding soldier thing. It's like what Nandalal said about Coffee being a proud old slave, right? Let me continue reading the first. The Wismar Bridge is not owned or operated by the Linden Town Council. The bridge is owned and operated by Lin Mine, which in turn falls under NISIL. Both entities are controlled by the central government. Second, there is a revenue sharing agreement between NISIL and the Linden Town Council for the operation of the bridge, which up to 2020 was 70-30, with the larger portion being paid to the Linden Town Council under this agreement. Minor repairs and routine maintenance are the responsibility of Lin Mine. Third, the Ministry of Public Works has always budgeted annually to undertake major repairs to the bridge. Due to its superior technical and financial capacity, this arrangement has been going on for decades. Fourth, the Linden Town Council was never responsible for the maintenance of the Wismar Bridge. In fact, up to 2020, no municipality or NDC, which is the Neighborhood Democratic Council, has been tasked with the maintenance or repairs of any major bridge crossing in the entire country. This was done due to the acknowledgement of the importance of major crossings as well as the lack of capacity in those local organs. It is quite sad that the Prime Minister could not simply apologize to the community for the poor condition of the bridge, assure them that repairs will be effected in the shortest possible time frame, and highlight that on completion, the new Wismar Bridge, currently under construction, will provide the community with a better service. Such a simple act of humility is now beneath the Prime Minister. Instead, he has chosen to wallow in the mud. You wallow in the mud. You take the mud out of the pig, you take the pig out of the mud still in the pig. Mark Phillips, I know from personal experience that he's a liar. Not a lawyer, he lies. They make his sign thing. I recall back in 2021, 22 sometime then, when I remember I had reported it, matter is well known, most of the students will know, where Irfan Ali, the president, had a meeting with me on the 16th of September 2020 when he talked about promotion and all everything. Right? When the matter got to the stage where it got to the court, Mark Phillips, the same Prime Minister Mark Phillips, signed a swore to an affidavit. Mark Phillips swore to an affidavit that no such meeting took place. This meeting was between me and the president. The president himself, in the release that they gave, acknowledged the meeting. But then, of course, he disputed the contents of the meeting. But he acknowledged that the meeting took place between the two of us. Mark Phillips swore to an affidavit, a legal court document. He swore to it and said no such meeting took place. Lying Mark Phillips. And I said in other jurisdiction, that's perjury. You lie on oath, that's perjury. And he should have been charged with perjury. In this animal farm, this corrupt place they call Guyana, not named to Mark Phillips. As a matter of fact, he get a second term. He got a second term. But let me tell you this. Old people say, you're going to get what you want. You want a second term, you get it. But you might not want what you get. You might get what you want. That's the office and the prestige. But you might not want what you get, what coming to you. God don't sleep. God don't sleep. You get family. You get wife and picnic, as they say. And to swear on an affidavit and lie, as you did, God don't sleep. Karma is a bitch. Right? Karma is a bitch. So that is the story with Mark Phillips. David Patterson had to call him out. He blaming the Linden Town Council. So David Patterson was a former minister in that same ministry. Right? Call you out. And you can get the dignity to at least some states come and say, well, he was wrong. No, they ain't going to do that. They ain't going to do that. He's not wrong. He's lying. Let me bring in Mr. Conway, man. Lying Mark Phillips. And Mr. Conway know about the story I just related. Man, lying affidavit, man.
Yeah, I know about the story. I saw the affidavit, signed by him. And he can't say, you know about it. They just tell you to sign. Because my commissioner say you're responsible for everything above your signature. And you got to read. And you got to agree. You don't go and sign blindly. As Larry Luther said, was get a low SB. Don't sign blindly. And I remember Mark Phillips, well, he go and he sign a thing lying that no meeting was held, And there's the thing we get as a prime minister for the second time. But we're coming to you. We're coming to you. God don't sleep. Me ain't putting my mouth on it, but the Lord don't sleep and he don't believe in wickedness.
Right. You don't sleep, you ain't get pajama, you ain't believe in wickedness. Come here, share the life, share. We ain't done yet. Now let me tell you something that caught my attention. We're going to talk about the little politics now. We're not politicians. We are two retired senior police officers, so we talk a lot about police. I'm sure that you will all agree that some of the nuggets that we passed on earlier in terms of this man with a charge for throwing acid and the police arrangement will be eye-opener to some, right? Eye-opener. The advice to the minister about checking. We give advice. Make recommendations. It's for them to take it or leave it. And the advice about not going on a visit minister with Robeson, don't go with Robeson and no visit. As I said on Monday, Robeson involvement in your ministry should be restricted to show anywhere all them filed it there. If you put them in this jar, that I don't know, you don't want him around. They put it, you're saddled with him. I don't think you have a choice. You got to maintain, you got to, right? But keep it as far as possible. When you see, shoot and scoot, and keep shooting and scooting, and stay as far away from Roseman as possible, right? Now let me tell you something that caught my attention. Let me see if I can find it to read it, man. Something caught my attention recently. Yeah, Jamaica. Jamaica elections after Guyana. Think Guyana election was the 4th of September. Jamaica election was the 3rd. And they were able to make the announcements of the win of the election long before Guyana. Now, I saw something here last night I was reading. Election campaign materials to be removed by tomorrow. Jamaica, election campaign materials are to be removed by tomorrow. Dudley, why are your comment on this? Hear what it says. Kingston, Jamaica. The political ombudsman, they're not getting such thing. The political ombudsman is appealing to political parties, candidates, campaign managers, agents, and supporters to remove election campaign-related advertisement and paraphernalia by Wednesday, September 17 deadline. This is the deadline today. Quote, under the law, political representatives are required within 14 days of election day to remove all campaign materials, including posters, banners, billboards, murals, painted slogans, flags, streamers, stickers, placards, and ribbons from public and private property. End of quote. The office noted. Oh, my Lord. When I saw that, I said, that was so refreshing. In Guyana, PPP paint utility poles with a party color. I note in some cases, some of the poles are wrapped in the color of the, with cloth in the color. But in some places, they paint them. They paint the color. Let me see them remove it. They're coming down, they're removing. All over the place, you can drive, you can see all sorts of German flags. I know the German flag color and the PVP flag color are the same. Why? The same. You see them all over the place. They're not going to remove them. And a country like Jamaica, with some law, our neighboring territory, fellow CARICOM member, they got a law, and they got somebody they call the political ombudsman, who is reminding the political parties of their legal responsibility to remove all those things within 14 days of the election. So the elections were held on the 3rd. They have until the 17th today as the deadline. And I'm sure most of them will comply. But not in this unreal place, Wilfred. But when I saw this, I said, look, I didn't even know that they had such a law. I was talking about decency because we commented on it before. If you go along East Coast someplace, PPP got some big drums like cup with the collar put fastened to utility poles. And despite all the money, a lot of thieving money and so on they get, they're not going to make use of the resources to remove those things, to remove those eyesores, I call them. Eyesores, they're not going to do that. And then the wife will say, they talk about democracy and they tell about Guyana is a real place. All the money they get. One would have thought that now that they say they win back, now that they say, and note my language, now that them say that they return to power free and fair, they would have utilized some of the resources that they have. Because if you are accused, credibly so, of using state resources for the campaign, maybe you can use some of the same state resources to remove those eyesores. Remove those eyesores. Yeah, we're glad you joined today's classroom, man. I'm glad you're enjoying. If you come more often, you're going to get more enjoyment from the classrooms, my sister, right? But, you know, again, you got to, they talk about best practices and so on. One would have thought that that was one of the best practices they would have incorporated from a neighboring country. Yeah, put up your thing for the election period once the election done, right? Remove it. Remove it. But they ain't going to do that. They ain't going to do that. Somebody saying the Forward Guyana movement removed their flags and advertisement over a week ago. Yeah, and some of the cynics that say, well, they're not many to remove in the first place. But it's not the number of things you had, but it's the gesture to remove those things. Let me bring in CC, man. CC, let me hear you on that.
Yeah, I know about Jamaica law, you know, and I know about the political ombudsman, you know, and it's in Guyana. I know they're going to remove some of the things they pay them on billions. Some of them they pay them on trees and all kind of thing there. But it's high time, let them remove them. Let's start over fresh. But they won't do that. They will leave it like that because I don't think they get any, I don't know, I can't recall any law that would really compel them to really remove them. But take a page out of the book of Jamaica. Jamaica had election one day, and by the next day, you don't get results already. You don't know which party win, who was the prime minister, as the case may be.
Yeah, and one of our Jamaican students say that they have started to remove them, but it will take longer than the required period. At least you start. You're attempting to comply with the law, right? And anybody could understand that, right? They are attempting to comply with the law, but not guy, the first secretary, they will tell you no law. They're going to tell you that there's no such law. Now we got one matter that they got several other matters. We got one matter. Remember Monday we spoke about it. Home Affairs, they changed their Ropeseman out. The Honorable Onig Waldron is in, and we tell you about all the problems with that ministry. Now, the next man who is out from the new cabinet, let me see if I can find it and play. The next man who is out is Pillory Joe, Miss Joseph Hamilton, alias. We grew up in the same area, so that is that was he call him. Pillory Joe. Me know we get the name. But remember this?
Bakewell. You know the bread people? She came to see me. Actually, all the staff she has now, all the people now baking Bakewell bread that you're eating are from Cuba. You didn't know that, let me tell you. All, actually. Our concern was, Minister, would I get into trouble because of the document issue? My position was, once you pay them and take advantage of them, trust me, you'll get into no trouble. Because we have to eat bread. You can't wait for the Guyanese worker who will not come to work. When they go and hang out with Vice Cartel, 2 days they lost. They not come back. They go and sport with Borman, right? You in trouble, no bread, gonna bake. I'm glad you all could laugh. I'm talking about what is real here.
Yeah, disgrace. A BICO, B-I-C-O, black in color only. That is how the man describing black people. That is how Joseph Pillory Joe Hamilton described black people some time back. That it's better to employ the Cubans because bread got to eat. And when they go and to Bornaby, they got to Vibes Cartel, they're coming to work and bread got to eat. So maybe that's one of the reasons why they got rid of him. He's no longer there. But like in the Ministry of Home Affairs, they moved him from the ministry. They put one Keoma Griffith as the new minister. And I think, according to what I read, they got Joseph Hamilton as an advisor. What are you going to advise? To deny black people work at the bakery and other places? That is what he's going to advise you to do? And even the same man who is there now, Griffith, I learned of him shortly after the Madhya fire. Madhya fire, Keoma Griffith. You see, I just do my research, and I pray and I thank the Lord for allowing me to have all my faculties and to bless me with good memory, right? Which I would recognize. I get good memory. So when they release in this Linden fire, the public, they're talking about this attorney who was representing the interests of the parents of those children who died. And I became extremely suspicious. There's the police, there's the training. When I saw in the release, they said an attorney from a South Road office. Their name, no name. They said attorney from a South Road office. So right away I said, no. I smell cock. I smell the thing. I smell kunks. I said, well, no. Attorney from South Road office. Why they did not name him? So I said, let me investigate. Then when I investigate, I understand that the attorney's name was Keoma Griffith. His office was located in South Road. So I said, all right. So of course I can do my investigation. That's what I'm trained to do. And even though I left the work long now, I retired since 2010, and I moved, the contract with West Indies would ended in 2022. But it's in me. It's part of my DNA, second nature. So let me investigate. I discovered a lot of things which I can't reveal here. But one of the what piqued my interest is later on when the parents of those deceased children were coerced into signing some agreement. Keoma Griffith, the new Minister of Labor, was the person who signed on behalf. He was a witness. He is said to have represented the interests of the parents of those persons who died. The new Minister of Labor. And you know, the people complain, some of them, they say, who last they pick me, they give them 5 million or something like that. Them who pick to get serious injuries, they give them a 3 million and that. So that was the cost of a life, $5 million. And then following that, of course, a lot of the parents, we understand, did not sign, they were coerced. Because they carry cash money and give them cash money. Say, take it or leave it. And threaten them that if you don't take it, that is the allegation. If you don't take it, you might end up with less. So a lot of people took it. Then there was the Commission of Inquiry. Chaired by retired Major General Joe Singh, included the now appeal court judge Kim Kite Thomas. And the next man who represented the Amerindian people, can't remember his name. Then they had the secretary. Then they had the same Keoma Griffith. And I asked them, how can that not be a conflict of interest? You represented the interests of the family of the deceased persons, and now you are on a commission of inquiry as a legal officer there. I said something wrong. Y'all remember too, when the picture was posted with Priya Manik-Chan, the Minister of Education, posing with the commissioners and them. I said something wrong. She ought to have been a main witness in this matter to give evidence, because it had said that reports were submitted to her pointing out the deficiencies, and she did nothing. Well, she said she'd pass them to cabinet or something like that. So I asked the question then, how can this man, Keoma Griffith, be the same man on this commission of inquiry when he represented the interests of the deceased families? I said that was a clear conflict of interest. Then what happened? I'm going to refresh your memory. You got to know these people for who they are. Then it came the time for the, during the course of the COI, Commission of Inquiry. Griffith, the records are there. Blame the fire service. He blamed the Guyana Fire Service for failing to implement certain firefighting equipment and so on. He not blame the ministry who board up the place, put grill and all sort of thing, lock them children in there like keep their animals. He don't blame them. But he blamed the fire service. The records are there. I have a copy of the Commission of Inquiry report. So I said, what manner of man is this? What manner of man is this to blame the fire service? Fire service has absolutely no responsibility to implement those things. So even when they inspect and they find fault, they would write to the respective agencies, the head of the respective agencies. They are the ones who have to implement the recommendation. And it is said that they did that. But Mr. Griffith, as self-serving as he was or is, he blamed the fire service. I said, what type of person is this? No credibility. Another Biko, black in color only. They use them and then they abuse them. So I said, I couldn't understand. So this is the person now who is the new Minister of Labor. Well, Minister of Labor is a post, we don't get much to do. Now we might have more than before, because ever so often we have these industrial accidents where people are dying on work sites and all this everything. So maybe we'll have a little bit more to do. I think he has some other portfolio, manpower, something and something. I don't pay much mind to it. But I said, we got to understand who these people are. And the PPP like them, you know. The PPP like them. So they pull them in with them in the government. They like them. Let me bring Mr. Conway for comment on this. And then we have other ministers to talk about. But he is the one for today. Yes, EC, go ahead.
Yeah, Palaury Joe, you know, before they get rid of him totally, they impose he on Labour. And he's the man who encouraging the people to break the labor law. Those persons we say working with the bakery there, I wonder if they had work permit. And I wonder if how long the immigration give them to stay in the country and how long they're there. But there he is, allowing them to breach the labor laws because you got to get work permit. And my information is a lot of them ain't get no work permit. And a lot of them overstay their time. Now, Griffith, Griffith, as you mentioned, negotiating with the parents them. And then to boot, he there on the committee. And blame, as you said, they blaming the fire chief, blaming the fire department. When the blame should be fairly put on the Ministry of Education. You get him there, and he's going to advise the new labor minister, and he's going to get advice from Polario. Look out for worries. Look out for more breaches of the law. Look out for a whole lot of people working in Guyana with no work permit. And look out for a whole set of people in Guyana when they stay had expired. Was stamping their passport expired. But here in Guyana, working because we got to get bread. We got to get bread.
Have you got to eat the food or let me got to eat the food? Now let me tell you all this. Let me go a little deeper into the politics. I get a little time. Now, you know, the We Invest in National Party named their the MPs, the parliamentarians. And on the last occasion we were here, I said that somebody was referring to Azzuddin Mohammed as the leader of opposition. And I said, there's no leader of the opposition. And somebody to come in. So he's like, he might be the person who's going to be there. But as we speak, there is no parliament. So there can be no leader of the opposition. The last leader of the opposition was Aubrey Compton Norton. And he ain't going back to parliament. So he can be the leader of the opposition. And Azzuddin Mohammed is not a member of parliament. So he can't be the leader of the opposition either. When they go back to parliament, well, let's say he can be, he is not. When they go back, whenever parliament is convened, we expect that they're going to be shortly. Then they will name a leader of the opposition. But let me understand, there is none now. There is none now. So those who came and they want to tell me nonsense, or tell me nonsense this, I ain't talking with water in my mouth. There is no leader, there's no parliament now. So there's no speaker of the National Assembly. There's no deputy speaker. I know there's a clerk, because the clerk is a prominent position, Mr. Sherlock Isaac. He is there. But there's no speaker. There's no deputy speaker. There's no parliamentarian. There's no leader of the opposition. So we get that straight. Let's get that straight. Now, hear this one. The members nominated, well, not nominated, the members from the WIN party who will go to parliament are the following people. They got 16 seats. And they named them as Azzuddin Mohammed, Dawn Hastings Williams, she was there with the coalition. Tabita Sabaru Ali, she was there too before. I didn't recall she was the prime ministerial candidate to Azzuddin Mohammed. They named Natasha Singh Lewis, she was there in the coalition, she going back. Odessa Primus, who we understand is a mover and shaker, general secretary or something that to win. Duarte Esberger, Leslie Gale Lowe, Dion Lacruz, Vishnu Pandey, Beverly Cornelius, Gobin Arbajan, Nandrani Singh, Dr. Gordon Barker, Janelle Swetnam, Dr. Ryan Richards, and Dr. Andre Lewis. They are the 16 persons who will be in parliament, the larger opposition force. APNU got 12 to represent. Now, I caution you, and I'm cautioned again. I want the records reflect. I said in the build-up to the elections, PPP were saying openly that they wanted a 2/3 majority. They wanted a 2/3 majority. They did not get that. I said then, and I'm repeating it for emphasis, that the only reason a party would want a 2/3 majority in parliament is because that is regarded as a supermajority, and that allows you to change provisions in the Constitution. So in this configuration, according to the little sums that I did, not mathematics, the little sums, a 2/3 of 65 is 43 point something recurring, 43.333 recurring. Now you're not going to point person. Well, in mathematics, you're going to point body. But the way you look, some of them you get, some of them is half and quarter and fraction. Some of the people we have to deal with are not old people. But when you talk about the configuration of parliament, we are saying now that they require 44 to get this supermajority. You have people here, the majority of them in the win are unknown. They are unknown entities. And therefore, as we saw in the Charandas case, PPP had a minority. They wanted one to move the no confident motion, and they got Charandas. And we understand that more were lined up. But once Charandas vote against the party, they had the number to bring down the government. I am cautioning these people that I just named, most of them are unknown. You don't know where they're going to lean. And again, little civic lessons, it simply means that if normal bill, let me go back and say, if you got to pass a normal bill in parliament, as they have been doing, you don't require no supermajority. You require just 33. And you pass your bill. So whether the opposition agree or not, you pass. So many legislations have been passed like that. When they changed the National Resource Fund, all them things, simple majority. It is ominous to me that they were campaigning to change to get a 2/3 majority. They didn't get it by themselves. But if you have an opposition element in parliament, an unknown opposition element in parliament called the Win Party, who is to say that the PPP can buy out or pick off 8 of them? Because 36 and 8 is 44. 44 is a supermajority. Watch the right. A warning, y'all. Everybody, a warning. So some of the provisions of the Constitution that the PPP find to be uncomfortable. I'll tell you one, the presidential term limits, because remember, that had to go all the way to the CCJ, because there was no presidential term limit, and they had an arrangement, and they had a 2/3 majority with the PPP and the opposition, and they agreed that a president cannot serve for more than 2 terms. And then when Jagdeo second term was coming to end, they challenged it. Something they had agreed to before. They challenged it to say that that was unconstitutional, that in order to have such a change, is not the parliament should have decided that, you should have gone to a referendum. They challenged it. And Ian Chan ruled in their favor. That matter had to go to the Caribbean Courts of Justice, CCJ. And CCJ, because they were now importing the word consecutive, to say that the Constitution means, the amendment means that you should have no more than 2 consecutive terms. So once you serve your 2 consecutive terms, they were arguing that you can leave, put somebody in there, then you can come back again for the next 2 consecutive terms. CCJ said no, 2 terms. You serve your 2 terms, you're done. At least as president. Jagdeo serving the 4th or 5th term now. We know that, right? So I am cautioning again. You have an unknown entity. Me saying they can think, because we don't know where they will swing, right? So now ordinary bill, ordinary majority. If you have to change provisions in the Constitution, 2/3 majority. And they have found provisions unfavorable. They don't like it. Sometimes the president just disregard it. The court says so, not me. Disregard provisions. They pick off some of these people. Presidential term limit. The appointment of the Chief Justice and the Chancellor, which require the agreement of the opposition leader. Y'all watch out. Watch out. Y'all watch out. A warning. A warning. Me no open man, me no politician, but I'm wrong lang. As you can see from my face. And they're long. And therefore I get a little common sense. And they're long, I get common sense. A warning y'all for watch out. A warning. Let me bring in Mr. Conway. We have other stuff to talk about. But time catching up with me. I'm gonna bring Mr. Conway to make his comment on that and his closing. And I'm gonna play y'all therapy, man. Right? I'm gonna play y'all therapy. Yes, CC, let me hear you on that.
As you mentioned, there is unknowns in Parliament. We don't know how they would vote, how they would swing, or whether they swing or not. And the present government, they were angling for 2/3. What is the reason behind it? Simple. They want to change certain aspects of the commission, of the constitution. So I wouldn't be surprised if many Charandas are in that opposition there. Could be a whole lot of Charandas, and they could gang up and change the constitution to what they want it to be. That's why they're asking for 2/3. They're asking for win the election, 2/3. And don't be surprised because they can't even get a chief justice or a chancellor unless they have agreement. Perhaps they would change that too. And the president would decide who you want as chief justice, who you want as chancellor. We don't see they inserting somebody here already who they want. And there's the whole thing. And don't be surprised, at thinking loud. Don't be surprised that they changed the name of Guyana, Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Perhaps they're going to say there's a Bornham thing. And many things in the Constitution, they're going to say it's Bornham thing. And if they could get them Charandas, they could change it. They could change it. And don't be surprised if they change the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, the name to the Islamic Republic of Guyana. The Islamic Republic of Guyana. As long as they get it 2/3, it could happen. Now let me move on to another thing. 2 sessions ago, I talked about financial irregularities at the police special constabulary. I'm a bit pleased that with breakneck speed, some of them rush up to Chelly Jagan International Airport and started to look after the allowances for ranks that they are denied. But it's still to account for the checks, and I know who uplifted the checks for the persons who retire. They should have gotten a gift and a function for them. People uplift the check and nothing. The people still waiting who retired, still waiting on their money. And we still to know what is going on, if it's still going on, where they have members of the special constabulary, the police, the government paying their salary, and the corporation that they get in paying their salary also. Double whammy. What happened to the money? The double. The government paying, and I understand the corporation also paying for them, paying their salary. Somebody need to look at what's going on, the financial arrangements at the special constabulary. What is happening there is fraud. Remember, we had Brutus, and then Brutus ended up getting 250 something charges. Watch at the constabulary. And there are many other places in the police force, the quartermaster store, the finance office itself are repeating. Region 1, just like how they're the epicenter for smuggling, drug smuggling, They are the epicenter for corruption, also financial irregularities. They start little investigation and they wash it down. So look out. I'll talk more about financial irregularities in certain departments, certain branches in the Guyana Police Force. But saying the SC started something. A little thing they do, but it's an indication like other things might happen.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much. I'm gonna go deny my students. You know, we played a certain song on the last occasion. Let me play it again, man. Listen carefully to the words, the lyrics.
November 7th, I see black man cry. No blood still running from black people's eye. But I remember when a sunrise, African rise. And I beg black man, please open your eyes. While I was singing and busting me liver string, black man asking me where Atlantic lay. Then they put their 14th finger on the shelf. So today, black man, you must blame yourself. Cause when I sing, they never listen where Coco say. Black man's mentality gone Spectrum and PSA. Big lyrics I sing in, they wouldn't listen to me. Black man telling black man, oh black man, come out to party. I remember when I sing Sham, we don't want it. The same black brothers say Coco, you singing shit. So they say through my fault while you strike your heart. Black man, all you look for that. I want a white black man, always want that kickstart. Black man, all you look for that. A man on a charge for interfering. Black man, all you still go and vote for him. Black man, how on earth you could condone this? Your daughter might have to work in this man's office. Then imagine this sex silver-headed test. 12 fingers under your daughter's dress. Me a saying that Patrick should have win, sir. But even Jim Baker will have been better. All the women who went begging the other day about this Mr. Way, all you have to say concerning this thing, all you're silent and talking peace. So the office girls must be at the mercy of this beast. He was charged, so whether it is false or true, I'm concerned because I have a daughter too. I'm talking from my heart, I'm telling you. Black man, all you look for that. Why on earth black man always want that kickstart? Black man, all you look for that. Tobago, I was really annoyed with you, but I realized all you get gets two. Who would have been the both of them with a side with Pandey and give away Tobago's best holiday? Them two go and sit down on the wrong table and then look for the best for the whole Tobago people. But all you cannot quarrel, all you cannot stress. That's where you ask for, that is where you get. We still love Nelson and Calypso Rose. The world now we honestly recognize those. Right, you're a great footballer with Aston Villa. We always show love and respect to that fella. But all you smile when Robbie married to Pandey. I hope all you understand where Sadmarad say. If he thought I marry a black man, he drop shit black. Tobago, all you look for that. Mighty Master Destin and Ricky Jai start. Tobago, all you look for that. Remember slavery on the plantation. Master used to use a black man to beat black man. So when I hear something, I've got a pain. I say, oh God, black man go beat black man again. But black man give black man soup. But black man want harm. Black man intention is to pressure the old black man. He give them soup, they say he treat them like an outcast. So now black man takes cocaine. At a Robinson on behalf of the African, with 2 seats pressed, you had the ball in your hand. I spoke to Leroy Clark and Capra Cameron, and up to now them can't understand where went on. You went and was knighted up in Africa, but to your black brother you prove a traitor. If Abu Bakr return and the shooting start, or you look for that. And if your daughter should cross the big man's path, or you look for that.
You look for that. You look for that. You know, today is Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thursday. And you know what happens Thursday afternoon? Yeah, Percy? You know what happened Thursday afternoon? Let me tell you what's going to happen Thursday afternoon, man. Let me tell you all.
It was a big bacchanal just the other day with Enid and Shimakume. Big comments the other day with Enid and Shimakume. I ain't want to hear, so I pass him straight. A fella pull me and tell me wait. Same time Enid husband get off the bus. Well, it's now the Makume start to cuss. She say, look Enid, remember it's you who say how you hire your husband so total bay. Your sweet man does come home in the house too. He could only watch and he can't say, yeah Enid, woman, why you lying on me? Girl, I'm not in your category. And if even said what you said is true, you have a man with your husband too. It hurt me, but I felt so shame when I hear she called him my name. He's so shocked, he don't know what to do, so he stand up there listening to. A policeman was right on the beat, run to make an arrest, but he come as sweet. Enid is a big socialist himself. She want to cuss, but she hardly open she mouth. Girl, you should shame to curse me for true. It's me, Enid, who you talking to. When you were sick in the hospital, I lend you me dress, me nighty and all. What you know about shame, the Makume say you didn't shame last week Saturday when your husband come home earlier. Instead, you had to hide the man underneath the bed. When the man hear that, he face come pale as mud. If you choke him, you can't get blood. Watching the wife and shaking the head, I say, Lord, well, tonight she dead. And next comments, woman listening shout, hey, hey, mouth open man Tory jump out. This time the Makume put she hand on she waist, and if you see how she getting on in the place, she say, look, Enid, it's better you leave and go. Don't let me talk everything I know, because you and Doris couldn't agree. You tie the child in the girl belly. I don't care what you say to do. I am still Mistress Enid Bedu. Bailey fair take back my TV set, and I never thief peas in the market yet. Now the husband shame, he couldn't take no more. He tell the wife, girl, come let we go. He hold she hand and he pulling she, but she tugging away from me. The Makume say, yes, you manny cool. You better take she away for true. She hire so dotish and borrow kid. What she give to rob, is that you take and eat? He say, listen young woman, stop making strife. You want to put me against my wife? In front me face, you're lying on she. My wife ain't have nobody with me. I know that man you are speaking about. That is her cousin Rufus from South. When he come home with a sleeping tree, sometime I myself does take he for me.
Cousin Rufus from South. I know that man you're speaking about. That our cousin Rupert from South. When he come home with a sleeping tree, sometimes I myself just take it for me. What do you just do for you take it for me? Folks, you've had a good day. And you know, tomorrow, Thursday, you're going to hear my Woman Bacchanal. You're going to hear Bacchanal. There's the name of the song. Somebody asked. Woman Bacchanal by the Mighty Juke. The Mighty Juke, Woman Bacchanal. Big time abusing. Big time abusing. That is what you're going to hear. Yes, Kian. Good song, man. Good song. I got to play it on Wednesday to remind you all about the Woman Bacchanal that you're going to hear the next day. Cousin Rufus from South. Cousin Rufus from South. Folks, as I said, we had a long morning. We had a good morning. Your attendance, again, was great. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, you know, but we can't do more now. We can't do more now. So the next scheduled program is Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I encourage you to join then again, where we're going to bring you more stuff. Again, you got to be extremely safe. And as I would normally say, Guyana is a place, disaster after disaster. One, you know, you would have read about a woman who was injured when a gas stove, some gas bottle exploded. They are reporting yesterday that the woman has now died. Road deaths, man killing the woman, gas bottle exploding, is all sort of thing happening in the place. All sort of thing. And according to them boys, it's 5 more years on them. 5 more years. The president made statements yesterday. The media people attacking, saying you're inviting them. We ain't got time to go into all of this today. We got a pedophile. We got a rape accused. We got a man who accused of raping boys. That man in parliament and that man in cabinet now, man. That man, I ain't talking about Darren Lal, others who of the same ilk in parliament. We're going to talk about those things Friday, God's Pray Live. So again, stay well. And you know, everything is up to the Lord. If the Lord's will is for us to be here on Friday, we are going to be here to bring you more credible, valuable information on speaking out, exposing corruption, incompetence. Until then, again, I ask you to stay well. Bye.